Hey guys, hello everyone, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to yet another episode of Weekend Discussion Series. In this series, I take your queries regarding CSIR Net exam, regarding your preparation, regarding PhD, regarding jobs, regarding all the things which you want to ask me apart from your studies, right? So these things we take in this particular series, and if you have questions which you want me to answer in the next video or in the next episode of this series, you can drop those questions down in the comment of this particular video. All right, so I'll be taking those questions which I got in the previous video, and these questions will be done, like these questions will be taken throughout this particular video, and I'll try to answer all of them, right? So without wasting any time, let's continue with our video. All right, so I'll take the first question. Okay, one more thing I want to say, that I first of all I want to thank Saurav. Okay, Saurav Adak. Thank you so much, Saurav. You have answered so many questions and so many queries of this of all the aspirants who have asked questions in the previous video. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. So the first question I'll take from Monica. Monica has asked that, sir, I am a CSIR JRF, and let if I get a job and want to cancel PhD registration, then whether I have to give all the stipend back to the CSIR that I have got yet? No, Monica, it's not like that. I have also told about it in the previous video. See, when you get a stipend, you get the stipend for the previous month. So if it is the month of May, you will get a stipend for the month of uh, April in the month of May. Okay, so that means you have already worked for that month in your lab. Okay, so you are being paid for, you are not getting paid in advance. Okay, you are getting paid when that month ends. So that clearly means that you have already worked for that much amount of time, and then only you got paid, right? So you don't have to give your money back because you have worked up till that particular time and you have contributed to the lab, right? Okay, the next question is by Ankit. Ankit says that, if, sir, if PSU research centers are not recruiting, and if anyone is not interested in PhD or teaching, then what he she will do to get job? The general line BSc MSc is becoming time waster for an average student at least. See, Ankit, the thing is, see, the situation right now, na, we are into a pandemic, okay? And if you see any of the sector vacancies, and you can see that recruitments or everything has reduced. Even somebody who is doing a job, like there are a lot of chances, like in the previous COVID situation, if you know the data, there are many people who have been discontinued or who have been fired from their job. Okay, so that's what it is. So because of the economy getting down, because of the pandemic, it affects each and everything. It's a very big picture. Okay, we are just looking upon a simple BSc MSc line, but if you look upon any of the field, you will see that everywhere job scarcity is there. Okay, and like jobs, people are not getting jobs. So just focusing on BSc MSc, because we have done that, so yeah, we can focus on that and we can tell about it. But basically everywhere it is happening. And the second thing is that if you are not interested in doing PhD, see, it still, I'll tell you that PSUs have not recruited for the previous 2020, ONGC has not recruited, and 2021 still, like it's a month of May. They generally recruit in the month of March or April, but it's the month of May, they have not recruited yet. So the chances of recruitment through GATE has decreased, and getting job through GATE has decreased, but it's not have ended, because there is no official announcement by any of the PSU that they have discontinued taking through GATE. Okay, so you can't say that it has been ended, or there is no chance of that. I'll still say that let this situation get over, let this pandemic get over, and once the things will be good, then probably these PSUs and everything will get back to the normal. It will take time. So the people who are in the current situation, for them it is going to affect. Okay, those who have qualified GATE or who have qualified their masters in the month, like in the year of 2020, 2021, maybe it will go up till 2022, who knows. But yeah, that's what it is. Okay, but it is not like that it is going to be end for future also. It's just about few years. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, next question Bhaskar has asked. He says, hi sir, I am doing PhD in deemed university. If I clear the upcoming CSIR JRF exam, can convert it into JRF? Is it possible year up to convert? Thank you, sir. Okay, see Bhaskar, the thing is, when you enroll into a PhD, whatever institute you are in, whether you are in private institute, whether you are in deemed university, whether you are in government institute, whether you are in a state funded institute, wherever you are, uh, if you are pursuing your PhD, and within that PhD, if you qualify JRF, okay, if you qualify JRF, and in that case you can upgrade your scholarship through JRF, okay. So you just have to submit, like your institute has to submit all your documents, and your institute should be registered. Basically, that's the basic thing, that the institute has to be registered in the UGC, if you have qualified UGC JRF or CSIR JRF also. In both the cases, your institute should be like registered among the UGC list of universities or institutes, and then your institute has to submit, or it has to upload all your information, like your bank detail, your JRF certificate, and all the basic details of yours, and then your fellowship will start. You will start getting your fellowship through JRF, okay. So that's what it is. So yes, you can get it, but yeah, you have to make sure that your institute is registered in that. And how you are going to make this sure? The best way is just look upon your seniors, ask your seniors, is there any senior who is getting fellowship through JRF or not, okay. That will simply help you with all the other like all the other queries also, okay. MS has asked that please explain about PSU job and actual vacancy. MS, I have already said about it, okay, about PSU's jobs and actual vacancies. So, yeah, that's what it is. I think I don't have to repeat it. Okay, Swati is asking that what about CSIR exam, when form fill up and when exam will be held. Swati, do you think that in this situation, in this pandemic situation, when we are at the peak of it, when so many people are dying every day and so many people are getting affected, people are like they are at their home saving their lives, so at this situation, do you think the exam can be conducted? It cannot, okay. So yeah, the situation is not good actually. We have to wait for it. We have to wait for this particular situation to get over, just like it got over in the previous year. And once it will get over, the exam will be conducted, and CSIR, NTA, and all these people, they will definitely give form notification and all the things, whatever is needed to fill the form. Okay, so just make sure, just wait for that particular time. Okay, I have got so many questions about PMRF. So about PMRF, see, like 2-3 questions I have got about PMRF. I'll just tell you in very short. For PMRF, to be qualified for PMRF, there are two basic conditions. The first one is either your bachelor's or MSc has to be done through your IITs or IASCs or ISER. Okay, so your MSc should have been done through that. The second criteria is that your MSc should have been done, or your PhD is being pursued under Institute of Eminence. I'll talk about all these things in detail, okay. I'll make a dedicated video within this week. You will get that video, okay. In this week only I'll upload it, so stay tuned for that. I'll explain each and every eligibility, like how you are going to be eligible to get PMRF fellowship, how much fellowship you get, and what about it is, okay. So I'll talk about each and everything over there. Alright, so Pralay Ranjan is asking that, sir, predict CSIR net exam date. Predicting CSIR net exam date is not easy right now, okay, but I can surely say that it is going to be in the month of August or September, okay. That's where it is going to go according to the current situation. Okay, BR Sheikh is asking that, sir, my organometallic preparation for CSIR is metal cluster, and he has cancelled boron complexes. Fine. Shape and geometry is hapticity, 18 electron rule, binding modes of NO, metal carbonyl, Sayre stretching, NMR reaction mechanism in organometallic, metal catalyst, Wilkinson, Wacker, Monsanto. Is it enough, sir, or should I add some more topics? See, BR Sheikh, like you have just studied a very handful of topics from this particular organometallic compounds. Okay, organometallic is very vast, and talking about this, I can't say that this is enough, okay. If you are preparing and if you are considering this topic as one of the topic which you are going to take it in the exam, see, if I just look upon the exam for 2-3 years back, your topics are quite fine. You will easily be able to do 3-4 questions if it comes from organometallic. But now if you look upon the question paper of 2020 or 2019 December, you will find out that the questions are not asked that straightforward in from these topics. So I'll suggest you, because you have enough time, exam is delayed, you have enough time, so cover these topics from some standard book. Either follow BD Gupta or you can follow Ajay Kumar. So follow any of these books. If you want those books, you can visit the website. I'll give you the link of that in the description of this video. You will get PDF of that book, or you can purchase these books. Okay, so pursue or basically study these topics, organometallic and coordination chemistry, both from some standard book. All right. Okay, Aditya is asking that which institute are good for computational chemistry. See, Aditya, for computational chemistry, you don't need any like big instruments. Like you don't need a good infrastructure. You just need some access to the cluster. That means a server which can hold big computations. And the second thing is you need a proper professor or a proper supervisor who have a good knowledge of computational chemistry, right? So these two things are important. Now this cluster thing is like this is available in most of the institute. Wherever computational chemistry is offered, they provide this cluster thing, but a supervisor is going to be more important, like it's going to play more important role. So rather being asking for a good institute, you should search for a good supervisor or a good professor or a good like person or a good guide who can teach you computational chemistry and who can help you to gain good like future in computational chemistry. All right, so that's what you should do for. And for that you just have to look for his profile. You have to check out what kind of research papers he has published, how much research papers he publishes every year, and that's how you can understand that how productive that particular person or a particular supervisor is. All right. Okay, the next question is by Gopika. Gopika is also asking similar question, that is computational chemistry a good choice for research work? Looking at the current current conditions, computational chemistry has a good scope and it's doing really good. If you ask anyone 5 or 6 or 10 years back, everyone talks about nano chemistry, right? Nano or material chemistry, nano chemistry, material chemistry, and a lot of research were being done at that particular time, graphene based things and semiconductors, all these things, all this research was going up to a very good extent. And now that also has saturated up to a certain limit, although there is a lot of like scope in that, in those field also. But now the current scenario is computational chemistry has a good scope, a lot of people are working on this, and it is in high demand. So yes, computational chemistry is a good choice for research, at least for now. Okay, Pooja is asking, sir, please tell me the scope of medicinal chemistry. I am a organic chemistry student, but I have interest in medicinal chemistry. So, can I do it? Definitely, you can do it. Organic medicinal chemistry is a particular topic in which you should focus on, and medicinal chemistry is basically made for organic chemists only, because all the medicines, all the drugs, whatever you eat or whatever drugs you take, whatever medicine you take, those are all organic compounds. So, basically, organic chemists are made for this. Yes, you can do it. Go for some specific institute which work in the medicinal chemistry, like pharmaceutical institutes, like NIPER is there. So these type of institute are going to help you in a good like future, like they are going to help you to build up a good future in medicinal chemistry. All right. Okay, Apu is asking, sir, please suggest online ways to start learning computational chemistry online, like any website or any online resource from basic. See, Apu, there are so many YouTube channels. If you just search, na, you will get them. But for if you want to start it from basic, I would suggest you to join some like some lectures from some big institutes, some foreign institutes, like MIT lectures are there. So MIT professors, they have uploaded their lectures on their website. You will find during the previous COVID period, it was like they have given it for free access. I don't know whether it is accessible now also or not, for free or not, but yeah, you can enroll into it. If like after completing that course, you will also get a certificate for that. So it's a good thing to approach. And also you can like if you want to do it from an Indian source or from an Indian teachers, then I'll suggest you to go for NPTEL videos. Okay, NPTEL. So these videos you will find on the website of that, and basically there you can learn computational chemistry from basic. All right. Okay, Suresh is asking, thank you, sir. I like this series. Sir, doing PhD or teaching intermediate, which is better, sir, to financially strong? Suresh, thank you so much for this. And the second thing is that you are asking about PhD and teaching to intermediate school. That means class 11th or 12th. Financially, if you ask me that which one is financially, where you are going to be financially strong. So as per the thing which I know, if you teach for class 11th and 12th, your salary would be around 30,000. And if you are teaching in a very good institute, or in some highly paid institute, then based upon that maybe your salary will increase, but your salary will depend upon how much qualification you have. So if you are just masters, in that case I don't think the salary would be very high. They will give you salary around 30,000, let's say. And if you are doing if you are doing PhD, then also you are getting 31,000 per month, but in case you have qualified JRF. Okay, so that's what it is. So if you just asking me from the financial aspect, so it is quite equivalent for the first 5 years. And basically if you are doing PhD, so first 2 years you will get 31,000, then when you become SRF you start getting 35,000. So that's what it is. And for the later on time, see, after 5 years we will have a doctorate degree, so your name will be like Dr. Suresh. Okay, so that's how your name will be. So in that case, if you now you want to teach, then you will have more options. You will now be eligible to teach in some institutes as well, like in some diploma institutes or degree institutes also. So there also you can teach to the students, and there your salary would be quite higher. So in long run or in short run, this PhD is much better than teaching intermediate. But if you are not at all interested in doing PhD, if you don't have any interest in doing research work, if you are just interested in like teaching, then and you just don't want to stay away from teaching, then in that case you can continue teaching class 12th, and you can just like switch the institutes to get higher income out after the time, after getting some experience in that, right? So that's what it is. But I would always prefer PhD over teaching an intermediate. Okay, next question Srishti is asking, sir, please tell about which research topic should I choose for PhD in inorganic that takes only 3-4 years to complete and also have future scope. Srishti, yeah, I think many people have answered you already, but see, that's true. In India, if you are doing PhD, it's very difficult to finish it within 3-4 years. There are certain topics and there are certain professors who finish it, or you which help you to finish it within 3-4 years, but it's not that easy, especially if you are going for core inorganic topic. Okay, you have asked about, yeah, inorganic topic. So in core inorganic topic, the chances, because in inorganic you will be either doing your PhD in some heavy metals, or you will be doing in some specific metal catalyst based chemistry, or you will be doing in supramolecular chemistry. There are so many fields, but in any of them it takes time to finish your PhD, and also it depends upon your supervisor. So you can easily take around 4 to 5 years to complete your PhD. So yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so research topics, whatever research topics are there, there are very few where it will be done in 3-4 years. That will be most of your like supervisor is specific, that how productive your supervisor is, how much time he is giving to you, and how efficient he is to provide you research articles and let you complete your PhD within 3-4 years. Okay, so you have to choose a good supervisor very wisely over there. So Vic has asked the next question. He says that, sir, I am interested to work in medical chemistry, where I can synthesize medicinally interested molecules. So what I should find to a research guide profile? Please suggest. So Vic, right now, so many people are doing in medicinal chemistry and medicinal based chemistry. Basically, that's what I just told someone already, that medicinal organic chemistry is something where a lot of people are doing their work. And for that, first of all, you have to go for an institute which is specifically doing research in medicinal chemistry, right? Like NIPER is there, and there are many other like CDRI Lucknow is there, Central Drug Research Institute. So these institutes are doing specifically research in drugs and medicinal chemistry. So target these institutes first of all. Second thing is, the supervisor which you are targeting, or the supervisor which you are looking for, just go for his profile and see how frequently he has published, whether he has some patent or not, because when you produce or when you make some drugs which is very new, you get a patent out of that. So that will be a plus point if a supervisor is having that. Okay, so these are certain points which you can keep in mind while selecting a institute or a supervisor. Okay, Manisha is asking, sir, how can I join pharmaceutical industry or any industry related to chemistry after MSc chemistry? I have not done MSc project due to COVID-19 pandemic. See, Manisha, regarding this pharmaceutical industry, there are different types of jobs provided in the pharmaceutical industries. Generally, there are jobs of medical representatives. Okay, that is the basic level job which pharmaceutical industries provide. Okay, so for that you have to keep approaching for the website of the pharmaceutical like company, like Sun Pharma is there, then there are different like pharmaceutical company. You have to approach to them direct. Then they have a position for quality expert, in which the aspirant or the person who is selected, he has a job to look upon the quality of the thing which, or quality of the drugs which is being produced. For that, MSc is the basic eligibility criteria. So you have to look for that. And how you have to approach it, you have to directly go to the website of these pharmaceutical companies to do that. Okay, and yeah, I can understand there are many people who have not done project in their MSc this year due to pandemic, and it's not like, I know this is going to affect in future to all of the students who have not done. Okay, but yeah, we all are affected. Everyone in this particular scenario is affected due to COVID-19, so we can't do anything else. Okay, next Shivam is asking, CSIR net lecturership qualified student, can they go for applying assistant professor? Shivam, yes, technically you can go for that, but in, like, you have, I think, read about it, that UGC has changed its regulation, and after June 2021, whatever vacancy will be coming for assistant professor, PhD will be compulsory over there. Okay, so apart from CSIR net, you should also have PhD. Now many people argue that then CSIR net does not have its any importance of it. It's not like that. There is a, like, you can Google about it, there is a marks chart for this, that if you qualify CSIR net, then this much marks you get. If you qualify JRF, this much marks you get. If you qualify, let's say, if you do PhD, if you have done PhD, then this much marks you get, and adding up those marks is going to make you eligible for the post of assistant professor. So CSIR net lecturership qualified is important, and apart from that, doing PhD is also important if you are like, if you are aiming to do or if you are aiming to join as assistant professor. All right. Okay, Manikandan has asked, sir, please tell me the scope of crystal growth. Crystal growth has been one of, you can say, it's one of the most important discoveries which have been done in the field of chemistry, and crystals always fascinates. Okay, whether it's organic crystals, organic like molecule crystal, or it's an inorganic complex crystal, or if they are biocrystals like protein crystals of protein, all this fascinates a lot. And basically these things have a lot of scope if you are able to do crystallography. So crystallography itself is a different field of research, and there are so many people who are doing research in this crystallography, and yeah, it has a lot of scope in this, right? So it was having a lot of scope, and it will have a lot of scope unless and until you become a good crystallographer. So a lot of things are important doing, like when you are doing crystal growth or doing crystallography, like whether you are able to design the structure of the crystal, if you are able to synthesize the crystal. So both the steps are important, right? Okay, Dhananjay is asking, sir, please take my question. If we qualify CSIR net but rank is not good, then can my admission possible in IITs? Yes, Dhananjay. Basically, CSIR net, and if I talk about CSIR net, I am assuming that you are asking for CSIR net JRF. In order to get admission in IITs, GATE plus NET is required. At minimum qualification is GATE. Some institutes, like some IITs, take only based upon GATE. Some ask for GATE plus NET. And if you have JRF, like CSIR JRF, in that case you are eligible to get admission in IITs. Rank does not matter. Okay, for CSIR net, the rank does not matter over there. Just qualifying the exam matters a lot. Okay, rank matters for the GATE exam. Okay, next question, Priya is asking that MSc chemistry and MSc pharmaceutical chemistry, please differentiate. Is MSc pharmaceutical chemistry student eligible for CSIR chemical sciences exam? If yes, is there any benefit in teaching, because MSc is in MSc pharmaceutical chemistry? See Priya, if you go through the eligibility criteria of your CSIR net for chemical sciences, there it asks for either MSc in chemistry or equivalent, or B Pharma, or like MTech. These are the exams which are mentioned over there. So it's not mentioned over there that MSc pharmaceutical chemistry, but I am quite sure that MSc pharmaceutical chemistry students are eligible for CSIR chemical sciences. Please, if anyone is having exact knowledge of this, please let me know in the comments. Okay, please clear this up. But as per me, I think you are eligible for that. And benefit in teaching is like same, only whatever CSIR chemical sciences aspirant is going to get. The only benefit which you have is you have done in pharmaceutical chemistry, so you have a good like you have a good chances to do PhD. If you go for PhD in medicinal chemistry, you will have some advantage over there because you already have studied pharmaceutical chemistry in your masters, right? Okay, chemistry learning in refreshing way has asked, kindly discuss on possible PhD topics of physical chemistry which can take comparatively short time for completion. See, PhD topics for physical chemistry are, there are, physical chemistry is a very vast field. See, physical chemistry has a lot of like lot of different topics. If I just tell you few of them, like you have semiconductors on which a lot of people are working, then you have photochemistry where like photochemical semiconducting devices. Okay, so that also comes under your physical chemistry. Then nano and materials also somehow comes under this physical chemistry topic only. And then comes your topics like based upon your solid state thing, where people are working in perovskite. Then electrochemical work are being done in which cyclic voltammetry and all these techniques are used to synthesize different things. So there are so many topics in your physical chemistry. And to be very frank, whenever you go for any core subject, okay, any core subject, it takes little bit time for you because there is already so much work is being done in over there in that particular field. So in order to do something new, or in order to get through that particular topic, it takes time to do this. So it's not going to be like if you're just going in core physical chemistry topics, it won't take less time to complete your PhD. It will take some time. Now again, I already said about it that it depends upon your supervisor, that how much efficient he is and how much helping he is and how efficiently he want you to clear your PhD within less number of time, right? So it depends upon that factor as well. ओके, नेक्स्ट पूजा इज आस्किंग, सर जो सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी जो खुद का एग्जाम कंडक्ट कराती है उसके लिए फेलोशिप मिलता है या नहीं? बिल्कुल मिलता है फेलोशिप, और फेलोशिप एक मिनिमम अमाउंट होता है। अभी फिलहाल 8000 इज़ द अमाउंट विच जनरली जो इंस्टीट्यूट्स और यूनिवर्सिटीज़ जो दे रहे हैं खुद की एग्ज़ाम कंडक्ट करवाने के बाद। Okay, Arunima is asking, please tell about GSI. Is it good job preparation strategy? See, GSI is a job equivalent to, you can say, like it's a grade A level job. So you are going to get a very good salary over there, and it's a very good job. The only thing is that the competition over there is little high, and the set or the bar, you can say, of the exam is high. Okay, you have to qualify pre, then you have to qualify mains, and then you have to qualify the interview. Three steps you have to qualify in order to be eligible for that. So yeah, you can go for that. Okay, the preparation strategy is same. Your basics should be good for pre and mains, and in mains, like you have to go for the subjective exam, and for interview, like basically the thing is that you have to be good in all the three: organic, inorganic, physical, and analytical. All you have to be good in all the four of them. Preparation, for the preparation, you can look upon the previous year's questions, and you can find out that what type of questions are asked and what level of preparation you have to do. Okay, Biseswar is asking, sir, can I get a stipend after just qualified GATE at low score for PhD? Biseswar, see, you won't get stipend unless and until you take admission for PhD. And if your GATE score is low, then you are only eligible for few of the IITs which are newer IITs. Okay, for that again, I have already made a video in which I have discussed that up to what rank which IIT you can target for. So yes, if you get admission in the IIT, then you get stipend. Okay, that will be institute fellowship, not your JRF fellowship. Okay, so if you get admission to GATE in some IIT, then you are eligible for the institute fellowship. Okay. My next, Gaurav is asking, sir, I have heard that if someone gets PMRF, but then it gets cancelled as they constantly ask for publication each year, and if someone is unable to show the publication, then the fellowship gets cancelled. In that case, is it true that the institute fellowship will also get cancelled? I have qualified GATE, so I am eligible for institute fellowship only. See, Gaurav, yes, it is true that you have to publish research papers every year, and if you are not able to do that, then your fellowship might get cancelled. But generally, your supervisor will help you in that. Okay, and he will help you to get at least one paper every year so that your fellowship does not get cancelled. But in any worst case scenario, let's say your fellowship get cancelled, it will be like the fellowship will be reduced to your institute fellowship. Okay, so it will be like that, but you have to reapply for the institute fellowship. So again, your institute and your supervisor is going to help you in that. So in case if your PMRF is getting cancelled, again you have to reapply for the institute fellowship, and for that the process will, you have to ask in your admin block of your institute, okay, or in the IIT in which you are taking, in which you are doing your PhD. Okay, next Swati is asking that what about industries? Can you give some idea related to that? Swati, I'm not the correct person to reply you for industries because I'm not directly into industries, but I'll definitely talk about it with some of my friends who are working in industries, and will come up with a video regarding that. Alright, next question Sangam is asking, sir, which is preferably better, CSR labs or IIT slash ISERS for PhD, as well as in term of scope after PhD? Also, sir, do we have to return the full stipend amount received from CSIR JRF fellowship if we drop out of PhD before completion of degree? Sangam, regarding your second question, I have already answered. The first question is that which is preferably better. See, both have their own advantages and disadvantages. Like if you go for CSIR lab, there the professors don't have to take classes, okay, those are dedicated for research. So the supervisor is more focused on you or on the research scholar, so their productivity is high. There you have to give more time to your, like daily you have to give more time towards your research work. Like that means you have to work for, let's say, 10 hours or 12 hours a day, and that's what it is. So your, that will help you, or that will reflect in your productivity. So CSR lab, there your supervisor is going to be more focused towards you. In IITs, in ISERS, there also supervisors are focused, but there they have to take their classes as also, like they have to take lectures and all those things. So in that case they might be busy with those things, and in that case the focus basically shifts. So that's what is the first difference between both of them. But yeah, both are quite equivalent. If you are doing your research in a good way, or if your work is good, then it's like you can't compare about both of them. Okay, so many people who have done from CSIR labs, generally people who do from CSIR lab, okay, that's one more difference which I'll tell you. Generally people which do research from CSIR labs, they are so like well trained during their PhD work, that they go for further, they go for research only, like they go for scientist work and these things, they don't go for academics. Okay, whereas people who do PhD from IITs and ISERS, they can also go for scientist post or for research in the further time, but some of them also go for teaching. So that's what it is. But people who have done PhD from CSR lab, they rarely go for teaching, okay, in the teaching field. So that's also one of the difference, because during your PhD you are trained in that way. So yeah, thinking about both the things, you can decide that which is better for you, right? Okay, next Simranjeet is asking that, hello sir, where we applied for internship, online or offline, any selection process or topic wise selection? See, Simranjeet, internship, for the internship, I would always prefer offline internship, but during the current pandemic situation, generally the internships are provided online. And where you can apply for them, you have to target institutes, you have to go and search for the official websites of different IITs, ISERS, and different institutes which are in the top of the research. Okay, so you have to go for that, you have to check their official website and see which are offering research currently, okay, like internship currently, and then you can send a mail and get applied, like you can apply over there. Okay, next, chemistry for success is asking that, sir, please tell me which topic is easy for PhD, like organic, inorganic, and physical, and has a good scope in future. See, nothing is easy, okay? Nothing is easy for PhD. Everything is difficult, and everything becomes easy. Like it is based upon how much dedicated you are and how much your supervisor is helping you, right? So that is where the thing becomes easier for you. And if you are asking like organic, inorganic, physical, that is very in that, like anyone cannot say you bluntly that which has a good scope. Okay, so directly like that we can't categorize that which has a good scope. Depends upon the topic which you are taking from organic, topic which you are taking from inorganic. So depends upon that which has good scope or which does not have. Always prefer those topics which are currently being in a lot of like you can say a lot of demand. Okay, Okay, next, Money is asking that, sir, kindly explain about PhD opportunities in foreign countries and what are the scholarship are available for Indian people. See, Money, for PhD opportunities, there are certain countries where students from India generally go for. The one and the general way is by passing through the exams like GRE or TOEFL and taking admission in USA based institutes. Okay, and there also like the vacancies or wherever you are applying, the scholarship is provided through that particular institute or through the Indian government. Okay, so generally the institute provides that particular fellowship. Okay, so you have to search for these institutes specifically. So after qualifying these exams, you have to apply for the institutes like GRE or TOEFL, then go for the institutes, apply for them, and that institute will tell you that whether they provide fellowship or not, or if they provide, how much amount they provide for that. Second way is going into Germany, and for that generally student follow through the DAAD scholarship program or the DAAD program. Okay, DAAD. So read about this. I'll make a video regarding this particular whole thing. Okay, I'll make a dedicated video about it, don't worry. And then again, there are students who go for Japan. So there are different countries have different like you can say criterias. Okay, and depending upon that you can apply. Generally the scholarship is provided by the institute for the Indian students, and the scholarship is quite healthy. Okay, you can go and you can join and you can bear up all the expenses over there. Okay, Aribam is asking that, sir, can you please make a video on how to read research paper and based on that how to write a research proposal. Okay, Aribam, I have noted it and I'll definitely make a video on that. Okay, next, Rupal is asking that if I clear university entrance exam and start PhD, but after 1 year I cleared NET with JRF, I get a stipend. Definitely you will get, Rupal, you will like your fellowship is or your scholarship is going to get upgraded, and then you will get scholarship through JRF. Okay. Okay, next question, Raquel is asking that, sir, is there any good scope to achieve, is there any scope to achieve good PhD and job if we do masters in general chemistry, or is a specialization in any branch is important? See, Raquel, if you have a specialization in any of the field, then when you go for the interview, you tell that is specialization. Okay, and over there the person, like if you have a specialization in organic chemistry and you want to pursue PhD in organic chemistry, then yes, that will be a good thing and the interviewer is going to be happy with that. uh, but there is a disadvantage also, that let's say you have a specialization in organic chemistry but you have interest in physical chemistry and you want to do PhD in, let's say, physical chemistry related topic, then you have to justify yourself that yes, you have enough knowledge of physical chemistry to pursue research in that. And talking about that, general chemistry, now general chemistry candidates, they have advantage, like for switching field they don't have a specialization, so they can choose for any of the research topic, like they can go for organic, inorganic or physical, any one of them. So yeah, and talking about the scope and like job opportunities or good PhD, these things all depend upon like how easily you are convincing the interviewer about your interest. Okay, that's the main thing. Okay, Harsh is asking, sir, nowadays programming is very important, and how and now I am studying in MSc second year. So please tell me the best channel where I can learn programming at home. So Harsh, I'll suggest you that some of the languages are important if you are interested in programming. You already know, I guess, some of them. Like Python is one of the important. That Fortran, which is very old language, and but yet still it is used in a lot of instruments, and that's why it is important to know that also. So yeah, you can learn these languages online. There are a lot of YouTube channels. I don't have the names of them right now, but you can just search for them and you can learn them. Secondly, if you want to learn them in an organized way, I would suggest you to join videos of NPTEL, okay, NPTEL, or you can go for any institutes which is providing, let's say MIT is there and different Oxford University, different universities are there which provide a course on programming, so you can join those courses also. Alright guys, so these were certain questions which you guys have asked to me in the previous video. I hope I was able to answer all of them, and if you have any new question and want me to answer regarding it in the upcoming video, you can ask that question in the comment section of this particular video. Alright, so I hope the questions which I have answered, you got the answer of it, and that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe, take care of yourself, take care of everyone around you, and be healthy, stay healthy. Bye bye. In case if you are unaware about it, I teach live for CSI UGC NET category on the Unacademy Plus platform. You can access my profile, you can reach out to my profile through the link given in the description of this video. Now on the Unacademy Plus platform, you will get my free classes as well as the paid classes. Free classes, free live classes you will get under the section of special classes, whereas you will also get free recorded sessions, free recorded courses, which is under free courses section. You can reach out to these particular sections on the Unacademy platform. The link is there in the description of this video, and you can get the access of all these free sessions. Now in case if you want to attend my paid classes, my paid sessions on the Unacademy platform, you have to take Unacademy Plus subscription. Now in the paid classes you will get access to all the detailed classes. Apart from that, you will also get the access to the mock test. Also you will get personalized doubt clearing sessions. So in case if you are interested to join it, do take Unacademy Plus subscription.